In this video, we'll learn how to create an Assignees column in Loocey and go over the settings and options of Assignees columns. There are two ways to create a column in Loocey. We can either open the context menu of an existing column and click on Add Column to Right, then choose Assignees from the dropdown, or we can click on the plus sign at the end of the table, select More Options, and then choose Assignees from the column type dropdown. We can enter the display name and click on Add if we want to use the default settings. Now that we've added the column, we can select multiple users from the dropdown in the table, and the system will automatically save. Let's assign a few items to different users in our new column, then refresh the page to confirm that all selections are saved. We can also open the right panel by clicking on the item name and make changes to the fields from there. The difference is that from the right panel, we need to click Save to save all field changes at once, instead of one by one in the table view. Note, the Save button will remain disabled until changes are made. Let's update our selection to assign different users, then click Save. Another feature of the Assignees column is the ability to filter items based on assigned users. For example, we can create a new view called John's Items, add a filter where the Assignees column includes John Smith, then click on Apply, and finally save the view. Now, this view will display all items where John Smith is assigned, even if other users are also assigned to those same items. In addition to the includes filter, we can also use equals. If we set the filter to Assignees equals demo, the view will return only those records where demo is the only assignee, an exact match. However, if we change the filter to in, we can select multiple users at once. This will return all records where any of the selected users are assigned. Let's look at some of the other options while adding columns. The following examples will be for string column, but the options work the same way for other types as well. You can set a default value for a string column so that it's used for all new rows created in this list. For example, if you want every new row to start with a specific label like new entry, you can enter that here. This way, each time you create a new row, the string column will automatically be filled with that unless you change it manually. Next, the required option, just like the name implies, makes a column a required field when creating or updating records. By default, the name column is required. If we want to mark the string column as required, we'll also need to set a default value. This ensures the column always has a valid entry when new records are created. If we mark another column, in this case, string, as required, the Add Item input box will change into a button link. Then, when we click on either the Add Item link or the new button at the top, the system will open a dialog showing all required column inputs. Let's add another record and enter the values for the required columns in the dialog, then click on Create. The record will be added along with the values for all the required columns. This design of keeping track of required columns helps keep our table consistent and prevents invalid data entries. The isNull flag is a somewhat technical term, which simply means that if no default value is entered, this column will allow nulls instead of a value. Again, this is a database term, and it's okay if you leave it the default. Note that when we switch off the isNull option, the default value field will become required, as now the column requires a default value. This is because if you already have data in your list and if you turn off the null option, this column will need to be populated with another value, otherwise, we would get an error in the database. That's it for today. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to be notified when we release new tutorials. Thanks for watching and see you next time.